All right, lesson 15 is going to show you a quick way where you can just export your podcast audio. So if you've made edits here and you do want to export your audio in Premiere Pro, you can. Do the number one podcast in the world do this? No. They're using Pro Tools or different audio softwares, and they tend to do that separately. But can you still do that and get hundreds of thousands of downloads, millions of downloads? Yes, you can. So we're going to show you how to do that in this video. And if you want to skip over to the next lesson, go for it. As you can see, this is what the timeline now looks like. We have, of course, made quite a bit of edits throughout this entire project. And, the total episode is just shy of 35 minutes. So you can thank me for choosing a shorter episode because some of these can get up to 2 hours. Quickly, before we go over all the video content and creating the video content, I wanted to show you guys how we actually produce the audio. So if we zoom up to the front here, we have a few additions that I've made. I didn't want to get too far into it in this section, in this lesson and course, because we're focused on video and how to maximize video content with social media. But I did want to show you that you can produce entire podcasts in Premiere Pro. The export settings are going to be the same as if you are in Adobe Audition. So although a lot of people do suggest recording, editing, and producing everything in Adobe Audition, we already leveled the audio. We already have an intro. So it's okay to save time. Sometimes we export everything in Premiere Pro. And since you guys are becoming Premiere Pro wizards, you guys can edit, produce entire podcasts in Premiere Pro. So have a listen. This, of course, is the beginning of the actual video podcast where we started things together. And what we've added is a simple sound effect. This sound effect right here transitions into the video content from a short intro that is created from the host. As you guys know, in a lot of different podcasts, including some of the most popular ones in the world, the YouTube version of content is different than the audio version, right? Lots of YouTube videos just start. Take JRE, for example. It just starts. There's a little monkey sound, and then it goes straight into it, right? That's a little taste of what it looks like. You'll hear this sound effect. You'll hear the introduction to this episode, and you'll also hear the standard Iron Sights intro.
Welcome to Iron Sights. This podcast candidly seeks to create opportunities and deliver impact by sharing the...
Okay, and that fades into the intro.
And enjoy the show.
In this episode, we're talking about power training, how to be explosive, why it's important, when you should do it, when you shouldn't do it, who it's appropriate for, and maybe how to...
Made one little edit here in the intro, and when you do make a jump cut with audio, when you're working on YouTube videos, I do want to mention that we use this constant power transition. So you can drag the constant power effect onto your clip here, and then you can drag it in to be as small as possible. Now what this does is it will take the audio waves from that first clip and dissolve them into the second, and they'll take the second and dissolve them into the first, right? So there's a few different ones. There's exponential fade. That's if you want the audio to actually fade to zero and then fade back into that clip. But if you want it to sound like normal dialogue, we drop the constant power in between a jump cut in audio, and it sounds like this.
Jeff Cheneau, who you guys have heard from before. You can find out more about Red Dot Fitness.
All right, and then we get into the episode with that sound effect.
Trainonline.com. Today we're talking about power training, what it is.
All right, and that is that. Okay, so 3 real components to the intro, and then if we skip to the end here.
Belt, you're not ready. You're not ready for that yet.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Iron Sights. If you enjoyed our conversation,
that's just going to cut to the standard outro that we have already created. And these are going to be dependent for you, right? Again, we have that constant power transition dropped in there. So we're not going to cover in depth on how to do that. Why? Because your intro is going to be different than this one. Your outro is going to be different than this one. So just know that you can create your podcast all in Premiere Pro. This is a Premiere Pro focused course, and so we want to give you guys that skill set. If we do want to now export this, we're going to go to the very first frame of the entire podcast. All right. Make sure we're clicking on that frame. We want to press I. All right. Then we're going to come to the very end. All right. And we want to press O, the very last frame. Okay. Or you can just drag this guy to the very last frame. And if you, again, your snap and timeline is selected, it will go ahead and snap there for you. So we've selected our starting point and our ending point. And it's okay that we're in Premiere Pro. There's video footage here. In the export settings, we're going to actually just export this as audio. So we're going to come down, selecting File, Export. Go ahead and click on Media. And here, this episode was, power training. So we're going to select power training. And we can go ahead and save our location for where this is going to export. All right, so we can go ahead and put it in audio, our audio folder, and just click OK. And then come time here for format. All right, we want to select this as an audio file. Right, so we can select WAV or MP3. I'm going to select MP3 as the format. And then we want to open up audio settings here. We want to change our settings from stereo to mono for a podcast. And we want to set the bitrate as high as it goes, 320. The codec quality set to high. And go ahead and click export. All right, now that is exporting this file just as an audio file. And you can now take that file and upload it to any distribution platform that you're distributing your podcast to. So quick separate lesson here on the audio, how you can take this audio and finalize it for your podcast. That already exported, so we're going to start uploading that. And now we're going to get into the good stuff, which is how we can actually create that 100,000 views from all the video content on this episode.